Batman and Robin issue 2, legacy number 68. Joshua Williamson writing with Simone DeMeo on the art. It took me a good minute when I started this to remember what the hell happened in issue 1.
I was pretty fortunate in that I read these back to back. Or maybe like 1 or 2 issues in between. I can't remember what order I read my books in this week, but I had the week of this from last month to read as well.
Yeah, so you were pretty set. And as I was reading it, I was like, okay, here's the things I remember liking. I like the idea of Damien being like, oh, you have to actually go to school now. Like, this is a thing. Damien in high school, I think it's a good concept.
Yeah, I'd like it more if it lasted more than about 3 pages.
Well, yeah, but they still may do more with it. I think what they're setting up here is that Damien's going to keep trying to get out of it, but he is ultimately going to like be forced to stay in there and actually be a teenager for a bit.
Quite possibly.
Because I know he ducks out in this issue as quickly as he can, but we do get him interacting with other kids who are trying to bully him, and obviously we get like almost like an American Psycho, or not American Psycho. A History of Violence is what I was trying to say, where he wants to beat the shit out of these teenagers, and he can, but he keeps it in. So he fantasizes about it for a second, and he's like, no, I'm keeping my cool. I'm not going to break their arms, but he wants to. I enjoyed that scene. I think that's a fun idea. Elsewhere, though, we have this whole cliffhanger from last time, which is Batman. All the bats are coming towards him because he's been shot with this pellet that's now in his bloodstream of something that's attracting the bats. The villain, whoever it may be, is trying to turn the symbol of himself against him, kind of thing. We have this character, Shush, who's enacting all these plans, but we also have a mysterious voice that's above them, someone who's telling them what to do. We get a scene there, so we don't know who that is as of yet. I was ready to throw down my money and say, oh, I bet his school teacher turns out to be this Shush character, but the way the scenes kind of played next to each other made me think, no, it feels a bit weird if like she immediately is doing the villainous stuff at the same time.
It would be awkward to get wrapped up in all those bandages and get over there in time, right?
It just seemed like an obvious thing because they introduced this teacher character. Like, oh, this is going to be a character. Oh, I bet she turns out to be the villain. But then, like, oh, okay, nah, it's just whatever. But
they probably could still do that and just be like, just creative license, just don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, maybe she's the ultimate villain who's speaking from the other room, the one we don't see. Could be that character, I suppose. Yeah. But I'm not banking on it. So. Yeah, I mean, I think Damien going to school was definitely my favourite section of the book, and I like that idea as a whole. Batman investigating who's behind, this stuff that they've done to him. They go to the prison to get this, White Rabbit?
Yes.
Yeah, that character. And they go to try and get her, but Shush shows up with the terrible trio, and they get her first at the end, and that's the cliffhanger of the issue. And they mention that whatever's going on, it seems to involve messing around with basically mutagens that'll transform people into animals or make hybrids, and that's why the terrible trio now have actual animal heads as opposed to just wearing masks. Which, I mean, I don't hate them having the actual animal heads. It's kind of quirky and fun, but. Yeah,
I don't mind it. It annoys me in that it's definitely not going to be one of those things that lasts. Even if this book doesn't actively address reversing it, next time you see them in like 3 years' time, it'll just be masks.
That's probably true. Unless some editors really do their job and be like, no, they have actual animal heads now. They can't take them off.
Yeah. It just feels like one of those things that'll just be forgotten about.
Maybe Williamson.
I don't mind it in this book.
Yeah, maybe Williamson will be good and like actually. Get an antidote that they force them to take before the end of the story.
Yeah, like that, absolutely, that could happen, which is why I say it could be addressed within the story. But I feel like it's such a thing that even if Williamson uses them again in like 2 years' time,
even he'll forget
that he did this. Yeah.
Because they popped up first in Rebirth in the Batgirl run, and it was after the.
They were pretty heavy in that run for a little while, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't in the initial. Not Nicholas Scott, sorry. What's the name I'm trying to think of? Oh, I forgot.
Albuquerque on art.
I'm trying to think of the writer's name. I've forgotten her name. But it was when it shifted to the second writer is when the terrible trio started popping in a lot.
Is it Larson?
Bob Larson, that was it. Yeah.
Yes.
Remember
There we
that.
go.
Do you know
We
what,
got there.
it's because she's not written any other DC books since then, so the name's been slowly drifting.
I had to pull that out of my brain.
Yeah.
Then that took some work.
The name's been drifting. I liked her Batgirl one, though. I'd be down for a
It as
read.
well. It's really good. Yeah.
Some more stuff. But she's another one who also does like just novels and like regular prose and stuff. So maybe she's.
Yeah, I think she has a lot of like. There's a few like indie books. I think she's the one that does Snot Girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Art is. So the art in this is a little frustrating to me because I think the aesthetic of it and the layouts are mostly quite nice to look at. The colors are great. I do think occasionally some of the faces. There's a page early on, it's just a few pages in, where Batman's yelling while turning them ravenous as he's talking about the bats, and the way his face is yelling, the way the cowl's kind of just like morphing to his face, just looks really weird to me.
That's fair. I overall love the art and the aesthetic. I'm not sure it's right for this book.
Sure, I can see that.
Like, I think like the school side of it, I think it works really well for that. And I love the neon styled Gotham that they bring into
all the
rest of
purples
it.
and stuff in the background.
Yeah. I just don't know if this is the right book for it.
I can kind of see that. I think for me, and this is going to sound like a really awful insult in this day and age, right? But when I look at some of the faces that I don't like, it has almost like that AI quality to it, and I feel really mean saying that.
No, I don't think it has that. It's just it's. I think what it is, it's very heavily manga influenced.
I mean, that's more of an insult as far as I'm concerned.
That's what it is. That's what, even down to when Damien's having his little moment in the school, he does the crouch on the desk, and it's the same thing that a lot I think it's called like the Japanese crouch, where they where they like sit with their the knees out, like but they're still stood up essentially. They're still on their feet. They're not sitting. It's something that apparently like Westerners find really hard to do just because our muscles aren't used to it. But you see it in a lot of manga and anime, that posing.
It looks like a vampire on that panel.
Yes. Yeah, he does a little bit.
It's a
color by the mouth. It looks almost fang-esque.
Yeah, it's that plus the deep red sort of light coming from behind him. Just it all feels very vampiric.
Yeah, the sunglasses inside.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think the art, like I would say, it's generally quite pleasing to the eye, but there's definitely something, the occasional face or whatever that I'm just not as into as a style approach. But there's that page. There's a couple towards the end where Batman appears and says you should be in school, and the way it plays with the shadows and the purple light behind them, it's mostly pretty good.
It is. It's as an art style for me. It's like a almost definition of style over substance, and there are backgrounds and there are details, but compared to other styles, it's pretty light on those, and it relies really heavily on this really strong coloring and these the high contrasts with the inks and the negative space. And I really like it. It is a style. But again, I think it suits a book that's a little bit moodier than this. I think this is a little bit too light-hearted for this style. Even though it's not a light book, but like I don't think it's got the darkness or the depth to what the story is. At least maybe not right now. Maybe further into the arc it'll get there.
Yeah. I think I'm enjoying. I think it's interesting that I'm enjoying the Damien stuff the most because the thing I've probably enjoyed the most from Williamson is his Robin book. So this being a quasi sequel to that, with following his progression afterwards, is it makes sense. I guess that's the most appealing to me.
Yeah, and I think as a Batman and Robin book, that should be the best part almost, right? The Robin side of it, because you can get the Batman thing in like almost any other book.
Oh yeah, there's
right?
tons of Batman. Yeah. No, that makes sense to me. So
also, just I know I wasn't here last time, but I read them both. I just want to say that was one of the worst because Batman utility belts I've ever seen. Where he has anti-bat repellent on his belt.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, no. The bats are like the one thing he consistently uses. Like even going back to something like Year One, where he has the thing to summon the bats, anti-bat is not a thing he uses ever. Like that's not a thing. Like, I get why he would know. Like, I'm okay with him knowing the formula for having anti-bat, right? But that he just whips it out of his pouch. Oh no. Batman should never need to be carrying anti-bat at all times.
Yeah, I can't really argue.
It was a particularly egregious.
It's
use
on
of
par with shark repellent, which would be fine if he's like, say, okay, the big thing's going down at the aquarium and there's a bunch of loose sharks. I'll grab all my shark related gear. That would be fine.
Or even if it's like we might be near the ocean for this mission. You know,
sure.
There are circumstances in which you might want to take that.
Yes.
But no, anti-bat. It kind of annoyed me a little bit. It's so egregious. But whatever, you know, it is Batman utility belt. It's often egregious.
Connor prefers Uncle Bat, confirmed.
Yeah. For the record, I say auntie, not anti, but you know. I appreciate the joke all the same.
What are you rating Batman and Rob?
I'm gonna give it a 6. I think it's a pretty average book with some nice art.
Yeah.
So it's just okay.
I think I'll go and nudge up and say 6.5. I don't think I quite like it enough to say it's good, but it's an easy enough read. It flows well enough. I'm happy enough to read more of it. It's not, but it's definitely not what I'm most excited for at any given time. And we're only 2 issues in, so it's not that much of a statement, but